Well, hello everybody, welcome back to Four Lights Wellness. My name is Omid, and in this video I'm going to cover a couple different things. Number one, why talking about things didn't actually work to heal any of my mental health problems and how I spun my wheels for a long time trying to go through that route. And number two, what you need to understand to really truly heal things from a permanent perspective as far as the brain is concerned. Now, the first thing I want to say about this is that the response is usually what people are trying to fix, at least I was. The response basically being some sort of negative emotion. And the thing about this is that the response, just by definition of the word response, is you responding to something. And if we're trying to change a response, can we actually really truly change something that is autonomic, something that is a perceived threat? I go through an automatic habit or get triggered to do something. Can't change the response if it's happening automatically, right? So going and talking about things and talking about our emotions over and over and over again, it's great for low-level threats. It's great for stresses in daily life. Me being a parent, for example, there's a lot of stresses there, and I can keep things somewhat conscious there. The second part about this is the processing side of things is not just the brain. The brain is basically split into three different parts. If you haven't seen that video on the brainstem versus the limbic system versus the new cortex, when we get triggered into having one of these emotions, that's usually from the brainstem back here, and it's an automatic threat detection system. It bypasses the conscious thought. So if we're talking about something, we're trying to consciously perceive it in the front here, we might get a little bit into that limbic emotional system, but it's not going to actually change things that are sensed from a threat detection system. So we can't quite go after things from here too much when it comes to triggers and trauma. This is the side of things that we've really got to go after. It's the stimulus itself. Easiest way to talk about this first is just the senses themselves. The visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, the olfactory, how we smell things, and the gustatory, our taste. And really simply, let's just talk about the olfactory itself, right? How many people have smelled something like, Christmas, pine scents or cookies and got automatically transported back to childhood? That wasn't a conscious thing. We can talk about it afterwards, yes, but the smell instantly took us through this whole processing thing that was programmed from childhood to an emotional response of, hopefully pleasure, if Christmas is a good time for you growing up, but something that automatically happens. Talking about it is not going to change that. It's just not. So the other part of this is the actual hormones themselves. Let's just talk about this from chemistry, right? One of my favorite words to use with clients, not hangry, but hypoglycemia. Right? If I haven't eaten enough that day and I try to have a serious conversation with somebody, I'm probably not going to have a great time because the chemistry of this is just setting me up for low blood sugar and having some more triggerable states. And talking about it is not going to help. I'm going to have an automatic response just because of low blood sugar. And the same thing ends up getting programmed when big, huge triggered stimulus start to come in. It's almost as if I've had a traumatic event in my life, it bypasses the processing completely. It goes straight to the response. And the brainstem's only goal is survive. That's it. Did you survive? Yes. Great. Do it again every single time that same stimulus comes in. And honestly, even if it rhymes with the original stimulus. So talking is not going to change that stimulus. The trick is, if we're trying to fix these types of automatic responses, what a lot of people call triggers these days, we actually have to go after this itself. I have a whole course on this with specific exercises to go after these specific emotional responses you're trying to change. It's called Healing Emotions, Trauma Release Exercises for People with Stress. The link is down below. But I'll give you one freebie over here. One of the easiest things to do, let's say, for example, it's something that you saw, right? You saw some horrific accident, you saw somebody that you love getting abused, something like that. You can actually reprogram your eyes. EMDR is a whole field of research out there. There's a ton of practitioners that I recommend to a lot of my clients to try and go after these triggers neurologically just by moving the eyes around. But you can do this yourself, right? Every now and then you have a couple minutes free. All you have to do is just hold a finger right in front of your face, somewhere where it's in focus, focusing perfectly on this, keeping the nose and the chin straight, And then go around in a circle and see how far you can go with your eyes moving and not your head. And if you're like everybody else I've ever given this exercise to, one of the fastest things you'll find is there's certain parts of the circle that your head will start to try and move, that there's a little bit of a visual disturbance that's going on. But if you work on this enough, you can start to retrain your eyes and the muscles of the face on how to actually perceive the world around you. Especially this is critical if you've been staring at phone screens or computer screens, or you have a desk job, something like that, where you're only focusing straight ahead. Because the challenge is with the eye system, once it's perceived that threat, it looks for it. It goes straight to it, and the entire body starts to try and turn towards that threat over and over and over. And working on this is great, especially if you can add the trauma a little bit to it. Now, if I'm doing this exercise and I saw Jimmy get shot or something like that, I can think just a little bit about that event. Not completely into it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't get back into the trigger. But you can start to think about loud noises as you're going through this. And every now and then you'll find, hey, there's some interesting problems here with me looking in that direction. Start to pay attention to the breathing. Start to put a smile on your face. Start to relax the body and then go back through that area as you're going through it. I've got tips on all of this with the kinesthetic system. I've got all of this with the gustatory system. I've got all tips for all of this, but really the biggest gun that you have is the muscles. If you can get the huge muscles involved with this, you can really start to get a lot of the hormones and blood and oxygen moving to specific parts of the body to go after these specific responses without having to consciously think about this at all. This is information I wish I had back in the day. It really transformed my brain a lot as the processing itself started to change the more I did this over and over and over again. I know you can reprogram yourself too. If this information is helpful to you guys, I really invite you to like and subscribe to this, share it with people that you think this is gonna help, and hopefully you'll go to my website, fourlightswellness.com, download the course. It's about $150 right now. I'm going to have a holiday sale coming up soon. But I hope this information is very helpful to you guys. As always, have a happy and healthy rest of your day. See you in the next one.